Hello there, and welcome to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast, where we'll have a little fun, lots of laughs, and discussions on the common sense that needs to be applied to a lot of today's world news issues. And now, the disclaimer. Stay Off My Lawn is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary to win. Open to legal U.S. residents 18 or over in the contiguous 48 states. Any resemblance to anyone living or deceased is purely coincidental. Actual price may vary. Only use as directed. Not a member of FDIC. And now, here are your hosts, Mike and Richard.
Here we are in all our glory, yes.
We're here. We're all in our places with, faces. It's, I don't know, how bright and shiny.
We're both a little tired this morning, so it is what it is.
It's the way it works.
Yeah. Welcome to this week's episode of Stay Off My Lawn. It's August 25th, 2026, and this is episode 177.
77 Sunset Strip. Oh, I'm sorry.
Not that kind of strip. I mean, it's a TV show.
Ew, no.
Oh, no, nobody wants to see all that. Oh, I do. You have that other commercial. Did you like that for the one with I can't remember the guy's name. The alternate version of the commercial we have for today. We have a video commercial for y'all today. So
I think I sent it back that I laughed at it a bunch. It cracked me up.
It's hilarious. We have a very special episode today. We've got a friend of the show, Jamie Miller. He's a political consultant. He's done all things political. He used to be the executive director of the Republican Party of Florida. Close personal friend of Marco Rubio. I mean, we find out a lot of things on this in this interview that that is coming up here pretty soon. He's got a lot of insight on things.
He's wonderful to say, you know what, I'll go on your podcast with you guys. You're a hoot. I'm glad he likes us because we get when we say political expert, we're not kidding.
Right, exactly. And hoot is really the best thing I could ever hope for when someone describes me. It's very, considering some of the other words I've heard, not so family friendly. We
feel very privileged to have had him on. So,
yeah, he's we in full disclosure, we recorded it last night, but it's the end of the show. It's quite a lengthy interview, but he's got a lot of really good stuff. And we actually talked. His wife has a podcast, and we're going to try to get her on in the next month or two. So, and she's got her own political thing going on. So that'll be fun. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we all know that grocery store prices have gone through the roof, especially since the President Autopen, and a lot of people are like, "Well, you pick on Biden so much." It's like, I don't pick on Biden so much. It's like, first of all, I don't think he was running anything. I really don't. And he's never been a nice guy, so I really don't have a lot of empathy when it comes to him being sick. And the whole thing, it's like, and I do have some, I get it. But at the same time, he's never been a nice guy. If he was a nice guy at one point and he decided to become a jerk when he got sick or when he got kind of lost his marbles a little bit, that would be a totally different story. But he's always been kind of an arrogant butthead.
That's putting it mildly. How nice of you.
I'm doing my best. But with the cumulative inflation during those 4 years of his administration, it was over 21%. And those things, unfortunately, don't go away very quickly. It's sort of like, inflation and a lot of things. You can burn the house down in 7 minutes. In order to rebuild it, it takes months. Yep. So, I mean, this is not something that is fixable that quick. Immigration, the same thing. We've got 10, 20 million people that have illegally crossed the border in the last 4 years, and the 4 years under his administration. And,
and speaking of which, this morning I just saw that they are revoking 200,000 visas from people that really overstayed their welcome, if you will. They just kind of waltzed in. Oh, we got this visa. We're here now forever. No, you're not.
And I think you and I exchanged this too, as far as in that same vein, is that the Social Security numbers that have been given to illegal people it went through the roof. I think between 2023 and 2024, it went from 800,000 to like 4 million. I mean, it was incredible, and it's because the way the policy was is that they would give you, it depends on what state you were in, but they would give you a notice to appear. I've got a video of Elon Musk and some other guy, and I need to do the research and find out who the other guy is. But they were talking about these are things that Elon found when he was with Doge, and just found this incredible amount of information where these people are just like, they get social security numbers and then they go and they register to vote. And there's been proof that a lot of them have voted. So, I mean, everything that's been called tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theory is true.
Oh yeah, they brought them in, and they're all upset with this Save America Act. If it goes through, well, 20 million of our voters won't be able to. What do you mean of your voters? What are you referring to?
And even if only half of them vote, I mean, that's still 10 million people. I
Yeah,
mean, unfortunately, like I said, I want everybody gone. I would like to see everybody gone, but I know these things take time. Logistically, you can't deport 20 million people in 6 months. It's impossible.
yeah.
But
So with that, they're looking at all those that were given out illegally, if you will, and they're going to be revoked. They're
yeah,
looking at that as
well,
well. It's not going to be as easy as the visas. They can tell, well, these are all expired. Why hasn't anybody done anything about them? Pretty easy to do.
and they're not necessarily South American or Central American people. These are people from like India and China that are here on visas, that student visas that have just
Yep.
run out, and it's been swept under the rug.
Yeah, they're now 45-year-old freshmen.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But with this inflation that we've seen, beef in particular has reached a peak national average of $6.69 a pound, and that's ground beef.
Yep.
That's on average. It's everything.
Hamburgers that much money. Where I didn't used to pay that much for a steak, for Pete's sakes.
I know it. I remember buying a pound of hamburger for a couple of dollars. It was like a
Yeah.
dollar 99. It wasn't that
Three
long
was
ago.
the high price spread, the 93.7, where
Yeah,
it's super lean. Yeah,
yeah.
oh, that one you might have to pay 3.5 for. Whoa, that's too much.
A bridge too far. We're not doing that. Some of the reasons have been the drought conditions that we've had, and that's nobody's fault. We did have the screw worm, that's easy for me to say, infestation that
Will
increased
we?
demand. We do have a lot more demand. I think people are starting to take their health more seriously and understanding that beef consumption is not bad for you.
No.
I think the Maha movement has kind of brought a lot of that stuff to light, and people are understanding that just because you consume animal fat does not mean that it contributes to cholesterol. Jury's still out on some of on that with some experts. I personally don't think that contributes to cholesterol, cholesterol building up plaque in your arteries. I think plaque is a very complicated thing, and I really don't think it has much to do with animal fat. Because remember back when you and I were kids, everybody ate bacon for breakfast. I mean, everybody ate bacon,
Oh,
and
we had it
and
all the time.
hamburger.
You cook the bacon up, and then you put the diced up potatoes in the same cast iron pan, and yum, ola, nice and
Well, they
crispy.
would fry the chicken in the bacon grease. Oh
Yep,
my God.
yep.
And everybody was thin back then. I'm talking in the 1970s. I mean, fat people were very rare. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying that our dietary thing, the way we eat as Americans has changed. And a lot of it's because of the processed foods. But I mean,
Processed foods, and what they told us that all these seed oils, they're the best,
oh,
and they have not been the best. I grew up with my grandparents using Crisco too, that
oh
needed to
no.
be used for certain things. So yeah, it's everybody's trying to do healthy. So what's this thing? Trump is hoping to reduce the beef prices by what?
25%. The beef right now, cattle, heads of cattle, beef cattle is down to a 75-year low, 25.5 million beef cows in the country.
Yep.
But to combat this, Trump just signed an executive order last Friday to import 300,000 metric tons of ground beef tariff-free from Central and South America, to give the American ranchers time to rebuild their herds. Now, I think you and I were talking off the air. You said it takes about 2 years to really rebuild.
2 years, being someone who grew up on a dairy farm and I knew where my beef came from. I helped skin, and that was just what you did. That was to feed my grandparents, and my family came from the farm. Grandpa would keep one and feed it, and I knew where it came from. I've raised my own beef on my property I have now.
Mhm.
But the thing that's irritating a lot of the cattle farmers, or did, and I don't know if they're going to be changing how things are labeled or not, but all they had to do was import beef from Brazil, Argentina, bring that stuff up here, and all they had to do was repackage it, and voila, it's USA made. No,
That's
it's not.
that's as underhanded as it can be. I just,
I would say put on there then raised in, say, Argentina, processed in the USA. I'm okay with that. That's fine.
is it too much to ask for honesty? And that's all I want is honesty.
Yeah, that's just
Yeah. But
whatever.
anyway, it's supposed to lower the prices in the grocery store by 25% very quickly. Again, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, Trump's made promises before; they have not come to fruition. But we'll have to wait and see how this goes. But
Yep.
that tariff right now is 25%. So I mean, it kind of adds up. But I mean, are the grocery stores really going to hold up to their end of the deal? Is it really going to work out the way it's projected to be? We'll have to just wait and see.
Well, we'll find out. But the other thing that, yeah, I mean, you were talking about the screw worm, and we had a drought. The other issue is feed. When you have a drought, you gotta buy feed. Well, you can't afford to buy feed. They're supposed to be grazing in the summer, and then come wintertime, then you feed them in the winter. You save all the extra stuff, and well, that's been tough to come by. And if you're feeding a little bit of grain with it too, or a mixture of, it makes it tough. They just couldn't afford to keep the cattle. That's all there is to it. I was talking about, I am on 3 or 4 because I like auction stuff. I used to go with my grandfather all the time, and they get 35 now, now, 40, we got 20 now, giving them and half sold. What? How much was that? But I'm watching, and you've got a big old bull that they're going for 5,000 plus a head.
Oh wow. Oh
I
wow.
mean, they're just unreal expensive how they're going, how they can afford those. Or you got, uh, um, well, she wouldn't be ever. She had a calf, but anyhow, mama and her calf that will go as a pair, and these are beef cows, not dairy cows, and they're going for like 3 grand
Mm.
for a mama, and it's like, holy crap. And that's a little calf that's maybe a week old that they're selling together. It's like jeepers.
And like you said, even with all the processing and everything, the inflation has affected that also. I mean, that's all been baked in the cake,
Yep.
unfortunately.
Well, everybody's got to have $15+ an hour now. That should be a living wage. Guess what it does to the end product?
That's why so many places, fast food joints, are leaving California and closing up shop. And In-N-Out Burger, one of the biggest fast food places on the West Coast, uh, packed up and moved to Tennessee. So
Yep. What was it? A Frosty Palace or I don't remember, something like that. And they had 15, 20 locations, and they just shut them all down. We can't afford to stay in business. It's just going to be a slow death. We're done. And everybody got a notice, and they come to work, and there's a sign that says, out of business. We have decided to close.
incredible, incredible. The WNBA continues to be a sore spot in the American culture, but they made a decision this past weekend, to not let Enos Kanter Freedom or Royce White apply for the draft next year.
They would have been perfect candidates. I'll bet they know how to play basketball real well.
They both wear wigs, just like that one girl from Chicago. She's got the wig. I mean, it's what's the
Dijonay.
difference? But anyway, I'm sure there's going to be, and really no explanation. Is like, we're just not going to let them do it. Even they're not going to change policy. They're not going to, no explanation specific to those two and why. So I see lawsuits in the future. I think I think you're going to have to hold their feet to the fire, and the only way to do that is monetarily.
What did I see? Brittany Griner was born Brian Griner or something. Yeah, no, that's not a her at all. Never has been.
And I've always wondered whether that was AI, but it probably isn't. But anyway, Enes Kanter Freedom showed up at a WNBA game this past weekend and had a shirt on that defined a woman as, and it said a noun, adult human female. And one of the players for Chicago kind of lost her her cuckoo puffs. And so anyway,
yeah, she come unhinged.
Yes, that's exactly how it went. And, let me see if I can find that clip here. And it's gone. Oh, that's why. Let me see. I have to go find the clip again. And
6-point basketball game.
Hang on. This is my fault. This was actually Steve is taking a break, so I'm
yeah, because the show's almost over today for us.
I know it. Here we go. This is what happened during the game this past weekend.
6-point basketball game. Chicago staying in it. Natasha Cloud.
There's Enos.
And right before the break, this was the scene inside Wintrust Arena. After Natasha Cloud got that bucket, she wanted her voice heard. We have talked about the conversations surrounding the W. That is Enes Kanter in the building today. And he has voiced how he's felt about the situation. Natasha Cloud voicing her opinion as well. Kanter was just escorted out.
Yeah, they threw him out. I mean, that was it's just not right.
All the security guys in that only come up to his shoulder. So,
yes.
I mean, he still can be up there and be seen.
Mm-hmm. So, it's he's like almost 7 feet tall. I mean, he's not a little guy in any way, shape, or form. I think he'd be fantastic. I still think that the Nashville Balls ought to be a thing. Oh, and Clay Travis actually updated his challenge. Remember, he made a challenge a few weeks ago, $10 million to have the winners of last year's WNBA finals go up against the high school team of his choice, high school boys team of his choice. And so he's updated that now. He said it on, he was being interviewed somewhere, but he said now he's going to sweeten the pot because he's not heard a thing. He said, we're doing the 8th grade team of his choice. We'll go up against still radio silence coming from the WNBA. So I think
you're going to be ridiculous about things. Ridiculous things happen.
That's right. We'll do the ridiculous if you want. I mean, that's fine. So, I mean, it is what it is. So, anyway, so we do have a break coming up because we do have the interview after the break with our friend Jamie Miller, and I think you're going to love it. We had a good time talking to him last night, and so enjoy that. And let me share this again because Steve is still on break.
Well, we didn't need him. We told him it's okay. Take the day. Just call it a vacation day.
That's right.
We'll cover you.
So hang in there. We'll be right back.
Guests on the Stay Off My Lawn podcast stay at the luxurious Motel 6, right off I-75 on Highway 20.
Our planet, our future, rests upon your cheeks. Every day, over 1 million trees are destroyed to make traditional toilet paper. With Who Gives a Crap's recycled glue roll, bums of the world, you can stand, nay, sit down for what you believe in. Uncrap the world with Who Gives a Crap.
right, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 2. And as promised, we have a friend of the show. We've had him on a couple of years ago, actually, talking about the 2024 election. He's the former executive director, easy for me to say, of the Republican Party of Florida, and currently the vice president of communications and chief marketing officer at New College of Florida. Welcome, Mr. Jamie Miller. How are you, sir?
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, it was. I'm sure everything I said in 2024 was dead on and correct, and could be proven correct if we go listen to the recording. Right?
Yeah. One thing I will not do is go to the tape, because I mean, I've been wrong probably a whole lot more than you have. So, you and your wife have Jennifer Bash have a Substack and a podcast called Reasonable Arguments. Tell us a little bit.
Yeah, come follow us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And Substack is Reasonable Arguments. A lot of people charge on there. She really doesn't. It's, she's I'm more of a commentator, and she's a little bit more of a researcher. So she plays a lot closer. She's probably more conservative than I am, but her writing is more equal on both sides. So she just calls it like she sees it. So. She's very, very well thought, very well researched, and if she doesn't research it, she's not going to write it.
I read the one article about Byron Donalds, and it was very down the middle. I mean, yeah, she wasn't playing favorites, and it was very good.
And she did that for all of them, and she's like, here they are. Yeah. So including the Democrats, she was very, here's the positives, here's the negatives, go make your choice.
Yeah. Well, we wanted to have you on because the midterms are coming up, and historically, if a party occupies the White House and the House and the Senate during the midterms, it tends to be very challenging for the party in power to hang on to that power. And we knew it was going to be an uphill climb to begin with, but this thing in Iran happened. What's your take on some of that? I mean,
I think the Iran fatigue is real. And I don't know that it's just at the gas pump, because we've seen gas prices, Americans as a general get used to kind of where it's at, and then when they see large fluctuations, either high or low, they feel in their pocketbook. But if you've been around, like here in Florida, we've been around $3.70 to $4, for a pretty stable time. Now we all look at that and think, okay, it really should be about half that at least, or more. And, but people get used to it. I'm just saying, like, when does gas prices become a voting issue or not? And I think the issue here is more about, I like to say the human condition loves certainty. And the one thing about Donald Trump is people don't feel certain about him and his decisions and kind of his governing. And I think that's been his number one issue in it. When he was coming in for his reelection in 2020, people would say things like, I just wish he wouldn't tweet so much. And really what they meant by that is he creates uncertainty with his tweets. He says, and I think President Trump would look at himself and say, you know what, I'm a disruptor and I'm never going to change that. So that's how I deal with it. So, I guess that's the positive side of it. And the other side is, people feel that uncertainty. And certainly when it comes to Iran, people would like to see a positive conclusion to what's going on there. I mean, this has been a problem for us since the late 70s, and, are we going to solve that? Are we going to solve that right here, right now? I'm not sure that we're not going to solve it before the election, in a real positive way. But I think the president said what was right. I spoke to one of the White House reporters a few months ago, and they kept saying, well, the president's saying this, the strait is open, the strait is closed. I was like, I don't think he knows who he's dealing with. Like, I honestly don't. And one day so-and-so's in charge, the next day someone else is in charge. The moderates are in charge versus the radicals. And so I think the whole foreign policy team is having some trouble trying to figure out, I have an agreement with this group, and then that group's not in charge anymore. And so
they come out like 6 hours later, say we haven't had a meeting, or we didn't
talk to him.
Yeah. I saw you roll your eyes as far as the $3.69 a gallon.
Yeah,
Tell me about
it's
the
$4.50.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Florida's
we're
cheaper.
4.50.
That's almost unheard of. Now in Georgia, you're probably cheaper, right? That's the traditional
I
norm.
paid 365 today. So
Yeah, it's 370. So usually it seems like Georgia's a little bit less
yeah, a little bit.
than Florida, a good bit. But
The funny thing about gas prices, and I did some research on this, and I think I brought it up a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, is that I think back in '07 when Obama was president and it had peaked around $4 a gallon in that area. And I may have the year wrong, but as far as the barrel of oil prices, they were running about $117 a barrel, as opposed to today they're running about 85, 86, 87,
right.
and the price of at the pump is about the same. So you got to wonder, is that partially from the hyperinflation that we dealt with during the President Autopen years, or is that something else going on, or what do you think that is?
I do think the inflation was real, and I don't want to say devastating, but detrimental to the national economy. I think we still have a hangover from it, and we're still going to deal with the negativity of the Obama Biden years when it comes to all these batteries. Richard was telling me in the green room, so to speak, before the show, it's like, oh, I have an air conditioner. They last about 10 years. Well, when all these Tesla batteries that were, people were getting funded to buy with our tax dollars, when they finally fizzle out, I mean, that's going to be the nuclear waste of the mid 2030s. And,
And they're not
and they are going
recyclable.
to, like every other battery, they're going to end. They're going to stop working, and they're going to stop holding a charge, and we're going to have to figure out what to do with them. And there is no plan. There is no recycling. There's no recycling in sight. And it's going to be devastating to the economy. People are talking about data centers. I mean, gee whiz, that doesn't hold. At least we're getting a positive impact in our economy from data centers. Jennifer just wrote today in Reasonable Arguments about how the manufacturing boom that we're seeing in the United States right now, a great deal of that is due to data centers, and the job reports we're seeing are partly due to data centers, and the growth we're seeing in that industry. So there's always both sides. There's two sides to each coin, but there certainly are positives to data centers, and national security to me is probably the number one issue dealing with to support data centers.
Well, and you got the data centers, and then you're talking about the recycling is going to, all of a sudden, it's going to show up, and very soon. They've had this problem over in France. There's a electric graveyard, and they have to have stuff setting so far apart because that stuff will just, even old ones, they just flame on the flash or whatever they do. And
well, certainly it was a problem here in Sarasota during the hurricanes when people's garages got flooded. Maybe their houses didn't get flooded. People had Teslas, and they'd lose their entire house to a fire due to
the salt, especially if there's salt water. Yeah, it gets in there. Now you not only have the electric cars that is a problem, you've got those lovely windmills that don't last but maybe 20 years at best, and there's some of those are starting to wear out. They're not recyclable. There's nothing you can do with them. And so what's going to happen when you pile those up? And they don't put out enough electricity and often enough to be a legitimate source. They're just there for looks. I mean, they do put out electricity, but
aren't solar panels kind of the same way? They don't really recycle either.
I don't think they do either. Nope. All that stuff is it's gonna
it's not
show
none
up
of it.
real soon.
None of it has proven to be long-term positive impact. Solar a little bit better, but you have to have such huge solar farms to make them worthwhile. You have 40 acres of farms for 8 acres of houses, and so, it's like, okay, we're going to use 50 acres of land for 8 houses now. Well, how does that make sense? That doesn't make sense. So,
and how many birds get
the
fried
efficiencies? They keep saying, oh, well, if we keep doing it, the efficiencies will catch up. Well, we've been doing these things for 20 and 30 years now, and they're not efficient yet.
No.
My nephew called me a couple of years ago, and he was talking because I had made mention on the podcast about the Tesla batteries and everything, the same kind of thing that you're just raising. And he says, "Well, I've got a Chevy Volt, and it's great." And it's like going, "Okay, well that's fantastic for you." So, what kind of range you getting on that thing? He says 30 miles. It was like a 10-year-old vehicle. It's like, he goes, but it gets me back and forth to work. I said, you are such a small demographic that it might work for. I mean, no, hardly anybody drives just 10 miles back and forth to work. I mean, I did, but I mean, most people don't. I mean, most people drive at least 30. Um,
That's just wild.
30 miles on a Chevy
Well, when
Volt.
I grew up in Central Florida, it's not the case today, but I had about 16 miles one way to a grocery store. So, it was a 32-mile round trip. Forget work. It's 32 miles round trip to get groceries.
Ours is only 10 miles away.
Yeah,
I live out in the boonies.
Kroger's 12 for me. So yeah, that's the closest one.
I live in Sarasota, Florida, and I live within about 3 miles of 12 Publixes. That's our Kroger or whatever you want to call the grocery store.
Publix has
most people who've been to Florida know what Publix is, but no, seriously, if I drew a 3-mile radius around me, there probably are 6 or 7.
Publix would be what the Dollar General is in Georgia, because it's like a state law. You have to have a Dollar General every 5 miles, or you're breaking the law.
We finally have one 4 miles away. Big town.
See? There you go. So maybe Idaho's getting the same way. I don't know.
I don't know. Never even been in it.
When it comes to
Trump, a couple months ago.
When it comes to Trump, and Richard and I've talked about this several times. It's like, I don't carry pom-poms for any politician. We're all flawed people. And so, I mean, and of course, I don't agree with everything he does. And none of us were sitting in the room when all this decision for Iran happened. And, you've got the two sides of this coin. Some people think he never could do anything wrong. Then you got the other side that if he cured cancer, they'd be protesting because of all the oncologists out of work. And I guess I fall in the middle here, and I don't understand why. Some people will complain that if you criticize them in any way, shape, or form, they're upset, or if you give them props in any way, shape, or form, they're upset. We're just so divided. I mean, it's even in as deep red area that I'm in, and I'm sure Sarasota, and I know where Richard is, he's deep red too. It's just funny how divided we are. I don't see us coming together anytime soon.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I tell people it's still not the division we saw in the 1880s. So, and there's a book out that you and your readers might like. It's called Dark Horse. It's about the unlikely nomination and election and then assassination of James Garfield. And it is it's kind of it's historical fiction for the most part, but it really, I mean, there's a lot of history in it, a lot of footnotes, but it's meant to be told as a story, not as a history book. And but it is just incredibly interesting to me that the same issues we were dealing with in the 1880s are what we're dealing with today. Immigration, class warfare, foreign policy, all of those things. They were different topics, but the same subjects, if you will.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, and that's a story that you don't read much about. And I have to admit, I haven't read much about the whole James Garfield thing at all. So that would be an interesting read, especially since we tend to repeat our history anyway. People hate Trump, and they and you think about, and I did read about this as far as like when Jefferson and Adams were running against each other back in the day, and it's like it was all done through the newspaper, the feud between those two, and it was like it was really nasty. It was very similar to they were tearing each other down for personal attacks and all kinds of stuff. So I mean, it's always
politics is politics. It's and so. We may be, we're maybe more divisive than we were, post World War II, But if you think about it, we've been fairly divisive since the 60s. There hasn't been a Republican. Think about this. There hasn't been a Republican president who Democrats haven't said cheated or stole the election since Dwight D. Eisenhower. And that's every single Republican president they have said was not legitimately elected. Every single one. And so this has been a Democrat tactic forever. And they are really upset that Republicans have stopped taking it. And that's part of what we're seeing in this divisiveness. It's we've had one party that's been dividing America for 2 or 3 generations. And now the other party has said, you know what, we're not going to take it anymore. We're going to start standing up for ourselves. You guys have been the bullies on the schoolyard and coming and taking our lunch money too many times. And now we're going to punch back. And rightfully so. And so now everybody says in the mainstream press, oh, it's so divided now. Number one, it's not nearly as divided as other periods of our history, but it's the Democrats who divided. And the extreme division in our country has started with Barack Obama when he started weaponizing government against conservatives. And those are proven facts. They impeached a president of the United States, on false information. I mean, that's insanity. That's insanity.
And nobody's had to suffer for it. There's been no repercussions to those that did it.
None.
Nobody's been perp walked, nothing. And that's
Even the
getting
January
people
6th
irritated.
Committee, they all got pardons. It's like the committee that investigated January 6th got pardons for what? I mean, if you're not guilty of anything, then why would you
that doesn't
pardon?
tell me you're guilty
Well, I
without
was on a
telling me you're guilty.
podcast I was on a liberal podcast right after Donald Trump gave pardons to the folks in January 6th. So the other side of the pardons.
Right.
And this person like, I just cannot believe that they got pardons. I was like, well, can you believe that our court system would allow our government to prosecute people with videos from this camera from a period of, let's say, 2 o'clock to 2:04, but would not allow a defendant to use video from that same camera from 1:56 to 2 p.m. or whatever the time was? Well, no, that's not true. Well, it's 100% true.
Yes,
it's
it is.
100% true that the government was allowed to use footage that was denied to the defendants. And so
And
I
doctored
happen to
footage.
know kind of how the president went through this. The president wasn't planning on pardoning all the January 6th folks, but he started going through and he's like, like a lot of times he will have a pro and a con and people argue for their case. They're like, okay, well, tell me about this one. They're like, okay, this person XYZ, and the other person argues for the pardon. One person argues against it. He's like, okay, well, that's the pardon because he didn't get to use video. Well, let's go through another one. And he starts doing it. He goes, well, how many are like this? And they're like, well, sir, it's all of them. And he literally just said, fuck it. Let's pardon them all. And that's what, it's just like, the government had gotten, and Biden's administration had gotten so horribly non-democratic. They had bastardized the system to such a point that no one who was in January 6th. I'm not saying that some of the January 6th folks who are at the tip of the spear shouldn't have been prosecuted, but no one got a fair trial. No one got a fair prosecution. And so when that system breaks so far, the only choice we have as Americans is to then say, you know what? It's better to have, a guilty person go free than an innocent person go to jail. And every single one of those January 6th defendants had some sort, unlike the Obama years, every single one of the January 6th defendants had some sort of penalty, whether it was in their job or whether it was their freedom for a period of time or whether it was financial. Every single one of them had some sort of penalty that they paid. And so, should they all have been pardoned? I don't know, but they all, the way the prosecution went in that thing went completely against the way our American system of justice. And so I believe they all deserved it.
Yeah, it was definitely due process. A lot of them sat in jail without even allowing any visitors. I mean, I remember seeing some Congress people going over there, and a lot of them were denied access. And it was just it was just a messy.
And that's why this election is so important. You know, if Democrats win Congress, we're back to the same old crap. Their very first thing they're going to do, they've already said it. We're going to impeach the president of the United States. On what? They don't even know yet. They don't even know what they're going to impeach him about. They're just going to they're going to create something because they knew they got away with it once, and so of course they're going to try it again.
They've already ruined the country once. That's enough. Let's move on. And a lot of people are seeing the stuff that they're doing and have been doing. The mess up in Minnesota is it's getting worse and worse and worse. They just keep uncovering more garbage that you did what? And I guess Ilhan Omar is, they were checking out her office in the Capitol. They were outside her door today. So they're getting closer and closer to she may not be there much longer. We'll see. I don't believe it because nobody else we haven't seen a perp walk do nothing. The only one that's been slightly grilled has been Fauci. So.
But nothing has, that's just in front of a Senate committee. I mean, there's nothing's going to happen. I mean, they've got no teeth. It's got to be a DOJ thing. And since he's been pardoned and all these people have been pardoned, I mean, and Biden has already said that he authorized the auto pen, and it's like, so it's a done deal. We just need to, you don't want to forget about it, but it's one of those things that we need to learn from it and decide try not to allow that to happen again.
Well, he got to do it twice.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking at what was that in the 70s, 80s, whatever it was, with
the AIDS thing,
with the AIDS deal, he basically did the same thing then that he did this last time. So, you fooled us once, and apparently you got to fool us twice because there was policies in place that he got to do what he wanted to do, and everybody goes, "Oh, well, you're the expert." He's going, "Cool, I made that up and they bought it. Let's see what else I could do."
And he got rich doing it. So.
Yeah.
James Uthmeyer down in Florida is filed suit. I don't know how far that's going to go, but I know that him and a couple other governors or attorney generals from other states have filed suit. But is that really going to go anywhere?
I was kind of curious how that was going to go with James becoming attorney general. And wow, what a superstar he has become. Just an incredible talent. That's a name you're going to hear for years to come. James Uthmeyer, he has just been an incredible attorney general. Democrats don't appear to be able to lay a hand on him in this general election. And, because he filled a term, this is actually his first election. So in Florida, we have term limits, but in Florida, you have term limits based upon your terms. And so if you fulfill someone's term, that doesn't count towards your limits. So we could have 8 more years of James Uthmeyer as attorney general, and boy, will he make an impact on the United States. I can't wait to see the heights to which he can rise.
Let's hope so. In Florida, though, speaking of Florida, the Senate race, we got Ashley Moody on the Republican side, and one of the newest DSA members, Angie Nixon, on the Democrat side.
Sure.
And the speeches I've heard from Ashley Moody have been kind of less than stellar. She's not necessarily one of the best public speakers. Maybe I haven't heard the good ones. I don't know, but Nixon, she's talked about a few things that she wants to accomplish, or her stances on some things. I got a real quick clip here of her, and this is only a small portion. So
I want to abolish for-profit prisons because I believe right now people aren't educating our children, and they're ushering them into the school-to-prison pipeline because they want to exploit labor. They're enhancing penalties because they want cheap labor. And so those are some of the things that I am supportive of.
Our chains are a tax on the Voting Rights Act. Our chains are them closing down our neighborhood schools. Our chains are them spending $1 billion on a ballroom you will never get to dance in.
There's no sexualization at a drag show. It's just people dressing up and singing and performing. I've taken my children to drag shows, and it's fun. It's entertainment. It's wholesome entertainment.
Yeah.
wholesome entertainment. But is it the school to prison pipeline? It's like, what do you come up with this stuff?
It's I have no idea. The interesting thing in Florida is, number one, David Jolly is broke, and uh, Byron Donalds is sitting on about $90 million historically over the last 3 to 5 gubernatorial elections. It's taken between an 80 and $130 million to win a race in Florida. We have 10 major media markets, 2 of the most expensive political media markets in the country, in Miami and Tampa. I think they're 2 of the top 5 political media markets. And so it's just not cheap to run a campaign in Florida. And so I think Democrats will probably abandon Florida. There's not any major um, U.S. House pickups available to them in Florida, and there's not really any major U.S. House defenses. There's probably 1 or 2 that they will go and defend with all vigor, but that's certainly not enough in a state like Florida for the tail to wag the dog and to impact these statewide numbers. Where this Angie Nixon thing really threw the Democrat gubernatorial campaign for a tailspin, because they had kind of a campaign which included a lot of racism in North Florida, geared up to run against Byron Donalds, who is African American. If your viewers don't know, or listeners don't know, and so North Florida being kind of the old South. The farther north you go in Florida, the farther south you go, and so I always call it the cross. You kind of have Central Florida. You have a swath through Central Florida, which is rural Florida, still a lot of Bible Belt, and then across I-10 in North Florida, the 29 counties in North Florida, from Jacksonville to Pensacola. And so we have just this veiled racism that David Jolly had started. He really kind of had to put the whole campaign on pause, because now there's an African American who won the Democratic nomination for U.S. Senate. And not only that, he decided to choose his lieutenant governor, who is a white North Floridian female, in June. And Byron Donalds, tomorrow's the last day to choose your lieutenant governor candidate. Byron Donalds has a press conference in Miami tomorrow. I hope he chooses a Cuban. It would be a historic choice. It'd be the first ever non-white gubernatorial lieutenant governor ticket in the history of the state of Florida. We didn't elect our governor and lieutenant governor together until 1968, but certainly since 1968, there's only been a few tickets that have had anyone who is non-white on them. And by the way, Republicans have had just as many non-white candidates for. Not only did we have a non-white governor in Bob Martinez back in 1990. We have Jennifer Carroll, an African-American lieutenant governor, Jeanette Nunez, Cuban American lieutenant governor, and we're Democrats. They as much as they claim, just like everything else that they claim, they say one thing and they do another. Mm-hmm. And so David Jolly wanted to put to bed this controversy with the Democrat Socialists of America and choose, a moderate white North Floridian to be on his ticket, so he didn't have to deal with it. And all of a sudden, Angie Nixon wins U.S. Senate, and he doesn't know what to do with it, because now he has to embrace. And the truth of the matter, he was always going to embrace DSA. He doesn't have. When you think about electing someone like governor or president, especially in a state like Florida, you have to think of how many people are they going to appoint and hire to run the government? And in Florida, it's probably 2,000 or 3,000 people. Well, David Jolly doesn't have 2,000 or 3,000 people who are qualified to who he can lean on. He's going to have to,
anyway, if the Democrats.
He's going to have to go lean on the DSA. And 30-40% of the people he hires and appoint will be DSA radical liberals who are nowhere near what Florida would ever want in their government.
Didn't I see that somebody asked him about whether he was going to, and maybe I've got the people wrong, but it seems like I've seen so many of these video clips, but somebody asked him if he was going to campaign with Angie Nixon, and he basically said that he already has been.
Yeah. He has to embrace DSA. And Mike, he can't answer the first very basic hurdle that he needed to answer to be the governor of Florida. It's a simple question. Will you promise to protect our daughters and granddaughters when they're in the bathroom? Not boys and girls sports, not anything else. Will you promise to protect our daughters and granddaughters when they're in the bathroom? And he cannot answer that question. And people have asked me, he's like, oh, is that what you're going to make the entire campaign about? Well, number one, I'm not running any campaigns.
Yeah.
But if I was, of course not. But
it's such a common sense.
You have to get across that first hurdle, and he can't even jump that.
Yeah. But
it's incredible.
It's like I think that the last polling data I saw between Jolly and Byron Donalds, they were very close, and it's very early in the race. So I mean,
that poll was a high watermark for David Jolly because it was taken 10 days before the primary when Republicans were at each other's throat. We had 4 legitimate candidates for governor, and Byron Donalds got 48% of the vote. There was one legitimate candidate for Democrat governor, and David Jolly was only able to muster 60% of the vote. And so people say, oh, well, that's number one. There were only 3 candidates, and he only got 60% of the vote. And so, and on top of that, to show you the hill that he has to climb, number one, in Florida, we had almost the exact turnout in both Democrats and Republicans, which means neither party was more motivated than the other. Mm-hmm. And with 48% of Republicans and 60% of Democrats, Byron Donalds still got 53,000 more raw votes. And so it just now, granted, we can talk about general election voters and how there's greater turnout and how those are different voters and a lot of different things. You throw in the nonpartisan voters in Florida, but it still doesn't change the fact of the incredible hill that David Jolly has to climb to even be competitive against Byron Donalds, just to be competitive.
He's got that name recognition. And he used to be a Republican, so he's a fake from the get-go. But I mean, I think that even with all the stuff that Byron's had to put up with James Fishback and the whole thing, and I know that they don't get along. Fishback's not gonna say that he's going to vote for him or anything. So I mean,
Democrats have leaned. This is how fake they are. Democrats in 2 of the last 3 gubernatorial elections in Florida have leaned on Republicans who switched to Democrat to run. Yeah. I mean, that's how weak their bench is. They don't have anyone who because no one believes them, and no one believes the Angie Nixons of the world. Nobody believes that you're going to have. There's some people who believe David Jolly was just doing this to up his resume because he got fired off of MSNBC. But I don't know that that's the case. But he certainly was no longer on MSNBC. And
he was on there, so
or MS Now or whatever they call it.
Yeah,
right. So,
they missed the news again now.
M Snow, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Well, as Mr. Tarnow and I have always said, the Democrats would have no standards if they didn't have double standards. They'd not have any at all.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
And they just, like you said, they can't even answer basic questions. And here in Georgia, we have Keisha Lance Bottoms, who was a disaster, dumpster fire, absolute dumpster fire as mayor of Atlanta. She's running against Rick Jackson, who we've met. My wife and I met Rick Jackson at a local Republican meeting, and he just seems like a very genuine person. I mean, whether he'll do a good job or not, there's no way to know. But to me, it's night and day. But she's beating him in the polls. The last time I saw, it's like by like 5 points.
Well, to me, it's about who they will appoint and who they will hire, and we know that Democrats will appoint liberal and even non-American DSA type judges. They will hire them into the highest levels of government. And do you want DSA minded people controlling your life, because they will. That's what they want to do. They want to control your life. And if these Democrats win, whether it's U.S. House, Governor, U.S. Senate, certainly President of the United States in 2028, we're going to have you're just signing up for something that you really don't want in your core. And it's a shame that Donald Trump has, kind of created this air of uncertainty, if you will, that people are even considering it. It's incredible.
I think that's a big advantage JD Vance has, I think, is that he doesn't have that air of uncertainty. Everybody kind of knows where he stands, and I personally, I think he'd be a great candidate. I do like Marco Rubio too, but I mean, I don't see Marco Rubio leapfrogging JD Vance to take over the.
Well, I played dominoes with Marco Rubio, so I'm for Rubio.
Well, there you go. There you go. But the DSA candidates are scattered all over the country. We got El Sayed in Michigan running against Mike Rogers.
Boy, he has toned down so much. All of a sudden, he's like, when he talks, you can almost hear the beep, 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 beep.
But he's such polar opposites of Mike Rogers. Mike Rogers is an army vet. He used to be the FBI. He used to be an FBI agent. Even interviewed for the FBI director's job in 2017. So I mean, he just served in the House 14 years. He's just an upstanding guy. El Sayed he's still leading by a slim margin, though.
No,
So
the last poll I just saw, he wasn't. He was down.
Right,
yeah,
right.
He's down like 4 or 5 points.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah,
So maybe
I think it's 53 to 47, something like that.
Do you think?
Yeah,
this
Mike.
El
So when
Sayed-
to return to the Florida poll, I kind of went on a rant there, but the poll that you saw that had David Jolly within 1 point, of course, that's within the margin of error.
Yeah.
And that was taken 10 days before the primary. So Republicans were still at their throat, and David Jolly was the likely nominee. And the pollster concluded that 93% of Democrats would stay with Jolly, which is possible, but not probable, just because of the tightrope he has to walk between African Americans, Jewish Americans, DSA, just throw in all those groups that he has to balance. And then it assumed that Byron Donalds only got 80% of Republicans, which would be historic. And then on top of that, has Jolly winning 60-40 among nonpartisan voters. And so, really the poll has him running the table. And if anybody wants to think like, oh, I'm going to go invest in the David Jolly campaign, they should look at that, because they manipulated a poll to the greatest degree, to the greatest possible outcome for David Jolly, and got him within 1 point. And so it just shows the incredible hill he has to climb with no money. And of course, Byron Donalds with an arsenal of money. And so, we'll see how it plays out. But it's right now, I don't think I've sat in that chair where you had to kind of decide between races, and a lot of these decisions are budget decisions, not political decisions. And you look at $100 million that it would take to put Angie Nixon and/or David Jolly in play, probably 130 or 40 to put them both in play. That's spending probably $1 to $2 million a day the rest of the way, and it's just not likely in a state as large as Florida with 10 major media markets.
Yeah. I was thinking about Florida and here in the South anyway. Florida may be different because the demographic is just different in Florida because you have so many transplants. We
have more languages spoken in Miami than New York City as well.
That's incredible. I didn't know.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
But I do think the black people I know that vote Democrat are not all for this whole men and women's restrooms and all that. So if they end up going down that road, that will be the hill they die on. I think that when it comes to those kind of gender issues, they're going to turn. They're either not going to vote or they're going to switch. So I mean, at least around here, at least the people I know.
Yeah. They need to make it about data centers and affordability, and that's the right thing. And we should be talking about, listen, everybody who's running for a 4 to 6 year term, even if they've been endorsed by Donald Trump, has to put forth their vision of what they're going to do for the American people, whether that's Floridians, Georgians, Idahoans. That you are going to have to put a plan forth that what you are going to be doing and succeeding with after Donald Trump's presidency. Donald Trump is only president for 2 more years, and your term's going to be longer than that. So you have to put a vision in front of the American people, and if you don't, then you're doing so at your own peril.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they better have a plan in place. Of course, and I was looking at an article earlier that there's 11 candidates running for major offices in the country that are considered in the DSA. AOC and that Darlisa Chevalier up in New York. I mean, that's New York, for goodness sake. So, I mean, it is what it is. But, in AOC is at least distanced herself from the national DSA, which I don't know how that works. It's like, I like to burn crosses, but I love black people. I mean, how does that work? I mean, she's just kind of like drawn back. I don't get it.
I don't. It's an incredible thing for her to try an incredible challenge for her, because that entire movement is kind of based upon her enthusiasm. And so to then say, oh no, I don't, that was woke one, we need to draw back on that and kind of come up with something more reasonable. I mean, that's just, stinks of greater political aspirations and not, so, I literally asked one of Angie Nixon's supporters, like, well, how do you balance the general and the primary with DSA versus, vast majority of, compared to DSA, moderate voters, we're all moderate compared to DSA voters.
Oh, sure.
And, or we're all reasonable. And so compared to DSA voters, and they're like, well, she didn't mean it. I was like, oh, so her primary voters, is she lying then or is she lying now? And they're like, oh, this person actually said she was lying then. I was like, oh, so you're admitting that she lied to primary voters? I'm like, yes. And that's the only way. And AOC is the same way. Like, I've been lying to people all these years.
Yeah.
No, you're lying to us now to further your political career.
Sure.
I mean, this is political desperation 101 by all of these DSA candidates. They all have to try to moderate, to try to trick. That's the only thing they're trying to do, is trick voters into or confusing voters into thinking that they're moderate when they clearly are not.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, when AOC got asked, so you're a member of the Democratic Socialists of America? Oh, no, not the national, just the state.
Not the national.
It's like, well, I am, but it's not the national. It's just the state of New York I'm a member of.
I think AOC is unique as far as that. She's packaged up. She's a nice looking woman, and she is getting better about public speaking. She used to get very flustered and not know what to say, but she's getting a little bit better. I saw in the Kalshi markets in the what's the other one? Kalshi and Poly Market, I think it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
They were both trending her as the number one candidate. Of course, the polls are showing it's Kamala, but I don't see that happening, but I don't know. I tend to believe Kalshi.
The problem for Harris is that she didn't have a political network, and so she certainly thinks she's the heir apparent because she was the last Democrat vice president, but that is it wasn't her political network, it was Obama's, and Biden didn't have a political network, it was Obama's. So let's not fool ourselves.
Yep.
It's the next Democrat nominee will be whoever Obama wants it to be, because it's his network.
Is she going to have a money problem, though? Because she blew through in those 107 days, her famous 107 days. Didn't she blow through like $1.7 billion and still had $20 million in debt when it was all over? Got that numbers right? Does that sound right?
Well, I don't know if she still holds that debt. My guess, most of them, once they have federal debt, they just end up not paying their bills to vendors and to consultants. Those are normally the ones who end up taking the beating on that thing. That's why all consultants want to be paid, at the beginning of the month they work, because too many politicians don't pay. Yeah. And so, Harris is, but she could set up another entity, that's accounting gymnastics, basically for her to fix that. But she would, I don't think that she's a viable contender for president simply because she didn't go through a true nominating process.
No,
And so
not at
it's not
all.
like she was the true nominee of the party. She was
Yeah.
the former vice president of the party. We all know she was a DEI hire. That's why America looked at her and said, we don't believe you're qualified, and rejected her
wasn't.
soundly.
But it seems like the DNC has kind of like made her the darling because they moved around the primaries to where South Carolina goes first, and she,
Sure.
has an advantage in South Carolina seemingly over the rest of the pack. So I mean,
I wouldn't count on that. It's way too early. I mean, they may have done that for her, and they may have been. They certainly made that move. They may have made that move for her. My guess is they probably made it for whoever Barack Obama wants it to be.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's pulling the string.
ultimately, it's not likely to be Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah, Obama's been in charge for a while, that's for sure.
He said he was going to have his earpiece and his sweats in the basement and figuring it out. So
Didn't know it was the basement of the White House, though. I thought
Who
it was
knew?
going to be, I thought it was going to be at his place. No, he
didn't
was
know
there
whose
almost
basement.
every day. He was there more than the doddering, old, stumbling. Yeah, Biden. He was there more than Biden.
I love the meme that is like they showed Obama said, "Well, I need a vice president dumber than me," and they showed Biden, and Biden said, "I need a vice president dumber than me." They show Kamala. Kamala said, "I need a vice president dumber than me," and of course, old Tampon Tim shows up, and then it's like. Yeah, I mean, you're really going to have to swing towards the 50 mark of IQ points. So, I mean, to get lower than poor Tim. Poor Tim doesn't know anything. Poor guy.
He certainly seems to be confused a lot.
But as far as the DSA candidates, there's two mayoral races that have DSA candidates. You got the Nithya Raman over in LA, where she's losing badly. I don't know how to what's her face? Gosh, I can't think of her name. Karen Bass.
Karen Bass, yeah.
And I think that she's down like 5 points, I think the last time I saw. And then you got the Janice Lewis George up in DC. She's leading by a lot the last poll I saw. So, I mean, I don't
It's
know.
incredible that our cities have turned against the American way in such a big way.
It really is. We have short memories, and I really blame a lot of the younger generation just hasn't been taught history the way they should have been. Thankfully, the us sitting in this room anyway have been we understood history to at least to a certain extent to know that communism and socialism were like the enemy of freedom and things. The way the American way has gone. It runs counter to everything that we understand as Americans. So, but a lot of the young people don't have that understanding. So,
Yeah, I think a lot do. I mean, it's I'm not kind of shaking my fist saying yell, get off my lawn just yet. But
we like to say it, but yeah,
but it's still a it is concerning. Well, most of our cities are not where young people are. I mean, a lot of young people are living out in the areas where red counties and states. So, I'm not convinced that it's a generational problem as much as it is, an immigration and urban versus suburban and rural problem.
well, that's very true. Even in deep red states, the cities are blue. So yeah, I can see the urban suburban issue for sure. Because I'm 50 miles from Atlanta, and it's night and day as far as politics goes between us and them. But I think that there is a demographic issue too. I was talking to my wife about this earlier today. Is up in Massachusetts, that woman's on trial for killing her 3 kids with the exercise band. She strangled the 3 of them, and it's like there's crowds of these middle-aged white women, these suburban white women that are cheering for her, and they've had 31,000. I read this morning. 31,000 people donate to the GoFundMe page for this woman's defense. I'm like, she killed her kids. And, I understand that there's postpartum thing, and I'm not going to make any judgment one way or the other, but people have been dealing with that for a long time, and they didn't kill their kids.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not that familiar with that case. I guess I've been burdened with my own life issues that
You're better off.
have kept me from that one. But as a general rule, we've seen this with the kid who killed the CEO.
Oh
In New
yeah,
York, I mean, we've kind of seen this
Angioni.
celebrity type murderer become in vogue. I mean, again, this isn't the first time this has happened in our country. We certainly had the stagecoach robbers who were murderers and thieves and things that have Bonnie and Clyde murderers been kind of sensationalized and made famous. Ma Barker right here in Florida, Bellevue, Florida, up near the Villages. They recreate that scene every year. So we've certainly have had these times where people have been uh, celebrity criminals,
Well, even
and
more recently, you got Charles Manson. I mean, he was getting
yeah,
marriage proposals in the mail every day, just about.
yeah. So it's incredible. I don't know that in and of itself is a great social movement or something that's new to American society. My guess is probably not new to history. But it is interesting when you have someone who's killed their children.
Yeah.
That seems to be a little bit more violent and personal.
Ironically,
That
in the state of Massachusetts, where they just approved abortions up till the 9-month period, which blows my mind. I mean, and then people will argue, well, that doesn't happen hardly, and it's like, well, it must be some kind of issue for them to even have that bill in front of their uh, you know, for the governor even to have to sign that kind of bill. There's got to be somebody.
well, if we're going to take it to 9 months, why don't we just take it to 18 years?
See, I mean,
And then like this lady would be innocent of her charges. She just committed a couple of post birth abortions, and her children they're her children. So why shouldn't she be able to kill them? Like
and they're
that's kind of the
non-viable.
argument
Yep.
of a 9-month abortion. I
They
mean,
were
it's
unable to live on their
ridiculous.
own. Yeah,
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
it really
Oh,
is.
I'm gonna stay out because I'll just get. It just makes my teeth grit.
Unload, Richard. Oh, we've got grandchildren. We all have this. I mean, I don't know. Back to the 2028 election real quick. Some of the polls have been showing. I mean, do you have an idea who do you think is going to be the final two in 2028?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one. I tend to think that Gavin Newsom has to probably be the real front runner on the Democratic side. He certainly has a burden that and he has hurdles he has to clear. But he's media ready. When you start looking at winning the nomination is a totally different scenario than winning the general election. Newsom's has kind of an Achilles heel where California votes very late in the process, June, I think, unless they've changed it. And but he'd be sitting on all these delegates, right? And so he certainly has a sort of an ace in the hole at the end. Now, a lot of these states give them out depending upon percentage, and you have to get really down into state law and or party rules to figure out who gets what. Florida, we're pretty easy. Winner takes all of our delegates on both sides, and but I have to think Newsom's probably the front runner over there. And I think you're right. Probably at this point, it's JD Vance or Marco Rubio. You're a little partial to Vance. I'm a little partial to Rubio. I think we both can live with the other one.
No doubt.
Would be my guess. I certainly can live with Vance. I think Marco Rubio is the future of the party. I would encourage people to go read his speech from when he became Speaker of the House of Florida. I actually wrote a book, and in the book I allude to the speech. I don't include it, but it's Great American Speeches and American Speeches that Changed History. And so And I mentioned Marco Rubio in there, that should he ever become president, that would be included in my second edition of that book, because and I tell people all the time, I've never felt more patriotic and more American than going door to door with Danny Perez, who's a Cuban Speaker of the House, in Little Havana in Miami, where you knock on doors, and I don't speak any Spanish, and knock on doors where they speak no English, and yet are some of the most patriotic human beings you've ever met in your life. I met a man going door to door in Little Havana who spent 5 years in a Cuban prison for having a yard sign,
Oh, goodness.
having a political yard sign, 5 years in prison. And so we don't know. Like we sit there and say, "Oh yeah, we love socialism." No, socialism puts you in jail for disagreeing. I mean, that's what they do. That's if you live. That's if you're politically connected enough to live, and that's what people are supporting with DSA. It all sounds great, but it's not. The reality is horrible, and yet, so I know Marco Rubio comes from, even though he's a Cuban American, I'm a pretty white son of a Methodist minister and a social worker. But I like to consider and JD Vance. I think the reason why those two get along, we're all kind of cut from the same cloth. I received free and reduced lunch in school. Marco Rubio's mother was a maid in a motel, and and so we've all lived some level of the American dream. And I think, I do think Marco. I'd like to see JD Vance become president and Marco stay Secretary of State. I think he truly has the ability to be the Henry Kissinger of our time, and really impact world affairs in a way like few Americans since Ben Franklin have ever been able to accomplish. And I think that he is that talented. I almost think that we would be wasting Marco Rubio for only having him for president of the United States for 8 years. And so I'd love to see him stay Secretary of State for another 8, 12, 16, however long he'll stay, because he's that talented. He's that in touch with not only himself, and you see this, people can see this, and they see this glimmer and they see it with JD Vance too. I just know Marco personally. And so, they see, when he starts talking about football, that's not a guy who thought about buying a football team. He's drinking beer on a Sunday with his buddies watching one. And, and that's just the kind of guy he is. He's been that guy since I knew him when he was the mayor of Lake Worth, or whatever the heck he was, down in Miami-Dade County, when I first met Marco, when I was a little county party chairman in Sumter County, and he was state committee man of Miami-Dade County. And so I think he was mayor or city commissioner of Lake Worth, if my memory serves correctly. And long before he was elected to the state house. And so, but he's that kind of guy, he's that good. Now, if he became president, I'd be awfully proud of him and be happy to continue to call him a friend and support him in any way I could. But I'm fine with either. I'm fine with either one of them. I've met JD Vance one time. It was a very quick. I don't even think I got a picture of it. And so, so I'm a little bit, just from a personal standpoint, supportive of Marco, but politically I'm fine with either. However it works out, I do think that at this point, the two of them will kind of figure it out between themselves. And
I can't imagine.
I hope they do.
So
Yeah, I don't. Well, Rubio's already said that if Vance runs, he's not going to run against him. He's already said that. Now, they would make a pretty big dynamic duo, if you will. But like you say, the wife and I were just funny. We were just talking about this like 2 days ago, is that Rubio seems to really like being in the State Department, Secretary of State. And he's good at what he does. And I like him and JD. They don't take guff from the media, or even when they're before Congress. It's like, no, I'm not going to allow you to lie. I'm sorry. I get to answer that. And they just tell them to blow it in their ear, both of them. And I think that way, to be honest, let's keep it where it needs to be and stop with all the propaganda crap that's just really, no, that's not it.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned football too, is that Clay and Buck mentioned, I think it was 2 weeks ago, that they think that Marco is just going to get out of politics at the end of Trump's term and become the commissioner of the NFL and make $16 million a year and sit back and smoke big cigars and enjoy the rest of his life. And that very well could be, they make a lot of money and you know what?
He'd be a good
deserves a
commissioner,
break. He's
too.
working like 7 jobs now. So
Yeah, he would be a good commissioner.
Well,
I
you
can't
talk
stand the
about
current.
you talk about having a global impact. He could do that from a commissioner of
he could.
NFL.
That's true. They're going to 5 different countries
Uh,
this year.
I think I just think the world of Marco, and I'm just so incredibly proud to have known him when he was coming up, and he's just done a fabulous job for the United States, and I think most patriotic Americans would agree that he has done us proud.
And like you say, I
100%.
think that because his parents came over from Cuba and I've known people from Venezuela and it's like, man, they are the biggest flag waving patriotic Americans that I've ever met in my life. They love it here because they've seen the other world. Marco may not have, but his parents brought him up understanding what it was like in Cuba. And it's like he has that distinction of how good we have it here and why change it, and we don't
I
need
think
to
he
go down.
said he's still got aunts and uncles that are there.
Probably does. I don't know.
So,
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
sure he
mean,
does.
yeah, I'm sure. Do they have power back yet? Or can we put them back on the list of countries that listen to the podcast? I don't know.
I don't know.
We had to reduce. We had 130 countries, and we had to reduce it down to 129 when they were without power a couple of weeks ago. It's like, because there's no way they could have listened. But anyway, yeah. I think it is interesting that we're talking about JD and Marco, and it's like we have so many superstars really on the Republican side. We've got a lot of low testosterone rhinos at the same time. Winos
Well,
would be the same thing.
they could be a wino rhino.
That
I'm
was
gonna
that was
I'm gonna have to leave you guys to become a wino here in a second.
But we do have a lot of superstars compared to the Democrats. Democrats, it's like they're almost searching for their identity. Is it Mr. Pomade from California, or is it AOC, or is it Kamala? It's like, they don't know. They really don't have a direction, seemingly.
Other
Yeah,
than Orange Man Bad.
Yeah.
And that'll get them far. That will get them far in today's environment, and it'll get them farther than it should, and farther than we hope they would. Now, how far that is, I think we'll have to wait a couple weeks to kind of get the temperature of the electorate, because I think both sides are, there's fatigue on both sides, and so I think that's what you saw a little bit in Florida with the primary turnout right around 30% in both major political parties. We'll see what they
Or midterm
what
primary,
voters
that's
decide.
amazing. Is it not?
Yeah, the statewide turnout, they don't really report it historically. The statewide turnout was 25, but that includes nonpartisan. And so that was our normal historical turnout is about 28.
Oh,
So
okay.
we were lagging a little bit, and the partisan voters usually carry the nonpartisan. So my guess is that partisan it was 2 or 3 points below the historical averages from a partisan standpoint.
Interesting. Well, Jamie, we appreciate you having us on the show, or being on the show. Well,
Thank you.
I'll send an invite to your wife and get her on here too, because she seems like she's going to be too smart for us, and just like you are. And
Well, she's way smarter than I am. I can tell you that.
We're in trouble.
We appreciate smarts because it makes us I can sit back and drink coffee and not listen.
The good news when you haven't heard, I've kind of been a partisan guy my entire life, and I've been in partisan politics a long time, and she is not. She registered to vote for the first time in 2016
Oh, wow.
as a 46-year-old woman, because she believed that Donald Trump wasn't a politician and maybe wasn't saying what she wanted to hear, but she believed what he said. And that's, I think, where Donald Trump needs to get back to, is that, hey, listen, you may disagree with me, but believe what I say. I mean, I think right now you see the dip in the polls, not because of what he's saying, but just people question whether they believe him.
Right.
And that's I think the big difference between 2016 and today is simply that, when Donald Trump said something before, you believed him. That first term, if he said something, you believed him. Now you're like, okay, do we believe him? Do we don't believe him? It's is there a deal with Iran? Is there tariffs with Canada? Is there a deal with Canada? Well, and he says these things, and then it's like 24, 48 hours, you backtrack, and so I think he has a little bit of he creates uncertainty. And and if he can somehow figure out how to give American people that feeling of certainty, then he's going to do fantastic, and he'll have a final great 2 years. But
he's got to cut back on the hyperbolic rhetoric and just tell us what it is, black and white.
I mean, that's what people like about the guy. Whether you agree with him or not, that's what people like and respect about him.
Well, when he says he's going to do something, he's pretty much done it. So,
but if you have Jennifer on, don't expect the partisan hack that I am. She may wander all over the place and give you opinions on all sorts of things. So
him and Richard and I have done that many times. We've wandered very, very.
I try to keep my hackery to numbers for the most part, and so I try to explain things through numbers, statistics, and likely turnouts and things like that. So it's not necessarily issue based one way or the other, but
we try to keep everything kind of on the basis of common sense, not necessarily coming at it from a political party, but one party does seem to embrace common sense much more than the other. So, I mean, it does look like we're partisan hacks, but I mean, it truly is not meant to be that way. And I know it comes across, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Yeah,
thanks for being here. You are always a pleasure to have on, Jamie.
The
last time to this time, we get to have two-way conversations.
Let's do it again. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. Where can people find your Substack and YouTube and all that?
Well, you can find me on all social medias at RepJam, REPJAM, whether that's Facebook, LinkedIn, X, all of them. TikTok, all of them. I'm not active on all of them, but or super active, but you can find me there. And then Jennifer and I have the Reasonable Arguments Substack podcast. You can find Reasonable Arguments on pay-per-view. And if I can plug something that's just fun, my wife has, Jennifer has a YouTube called Paw Per View, PURRVIEW, for all the cat and animal lovers out there. She has she live streams. We're fostering 5 kittens right now, and so she live streams that. But we have you're going to really start shaking your head, Mike. We have 250 feet of mesh tunnels that go through our backyard, through all these areca palms, underneath a Florida peach tree, over through some hibiscus plants. And then she has these feeding tables that she feeds squirrels and birds on. And the cats go out in these little mesh tubes and watch them. And so she films all that. And so you can sit there and watch cats watching squirrels eat and all these fun things. And she has a kitten cam on the foster kittens. And so it's just a lot of fun. So that's Paw Per View, PAWPURR View, VIEW. So but that's a lot of fun. So we have some fosters. We just named 5 of them tonight in a contest right before I came on here. So
cool.
It's been a fun adventure with Jennifer in the house, because she's super smart about political things. She's developing a video game for your phone. She's into a million different things. So
very eclectic. That's great. We have 2 cats, and we have one that goes in and out. We've got I put a storm door on the back. It's got a doggy door that I built for her. It took her about 2 or 3 days to really figure it out, but now she's out all the time. She brings in mice and birds, and it's like,
well, our house is a gecko graveyard, I can tell you. Well, I'm from Florida, so there's geckos everywhere. I don't know how often those things procreate, but they must be really prolific, because
there's plenty to go around, huh?
We had
Yeah,
about a
there's
6-inch
no
knoll
shortage.
living in our
You
living
would
room
think
for
with this
about a
many
month.
cats, there'd be a shortage of geckos, but there is no gecko shortage.
Well, I've got barn cats. I've got 3.5 acres and a barn, and they're underneath there. And this last spring, they got I only had 4 or so, and I had one that was a great gopher getter. Anyhow, they got busy, and now they've moved on or whatever, and I'm stuck taking care of 11. They're now teenagers. They're no longer kittens. They're teenagers now.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So,
They
That's
tend
a
to
lot
get
of
busy.
fun.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need
And
to
they
get rid
are
of the ones that
hard to
don't have an
catch.
ear clipped from the ear.
Define it.
Yep.
Don't show us.
Yeah. Get a room, something. I don't.
That's right.
Yeah, keep that over there. We don't need
Oh,
to.
goodness.
That's
Well, we
right.
kept you way longer than we semi-promised to, but you've
that's
been
okay.
a pleasure, and we really
Oh,
appreciate
it's
it.
always
Thank
my
you.
pleasure.
Personally, I
Thank you
didn't
so
promise
much.
Jack, but anyway, we hope you were somewhat informed and had fun like we did. Don't forget you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Smart Speaker, Rumble, or wherever you get podcasts.
And if that's just all too difficult, just go to our good old website of StayOffMyLawn.us for all our past and present episodes.
Got to type it that way too. So anyway,
That's right. Yeah, you got to say that while you're typing it.
see ya.
Toodles, thanks again, folks. We appreciate all of you. Well, we had fun and hope you did too. The opinions heard here today are not those of anyone other than Mike and Richard. If it made you laugh or go, or even, then we've done our job. Sort of. Well, mostly anyway. And if we made you think about things in a common sense manner, we welcome you to the club. And if it didn't, then just stay off my lawn. See you next time.